Welcome back to the Smallville Retrospective. I'm Scotty. You're not, and we're looking at season 3, episode 17, titled Legacy. I always get how to put it. The borders. So this episode hit differently. I don't know. Normally going through this, I don't know. I didn't remember this one as much as some of the other ones. Maybe as it gets later in the season, they kind of just mush together. Especially when you're watching a TV season, you're getting closer to the end of the season. Oh, come on, just want to get to the end. Just want to get to the end, you know. And I am that way, but we're gonna talk about this episode. So the episode starts with Jonathan on the roof after having major open heart surgery, don't you know? On the roof trying to put up a weather vane when the key comes a calling. He hears the humming sound. This nearly causes him to fall off the roof, but Clark comes and saves the day. They almost get smashed by the weather vane, by the way. There's not a lot of cast members in this. You got Clark, Jonathan, Martha, Lana, Lex, Lionel as main cast members. Pete and Chloe do not show up at all. And then you got the FBI people. And of course, the return of Dr. Virgil Swan, played by the late, great Christopher Reeve. Yes. So, after what happened, Clark goes to the cave. I forgot to mention a scene at the end of the last episode that really needs to be talked about. You get this, opera music playing, and Lionel takes a pistol, out of his little box and he puts it in his mouth, and then the episode ends. Now, Mike Rosenbaum said that the WB were against him pointing a gun at someone's head, but it's okay for John Glover to put a pistol in his mouth. I don't know. I forgot to talk about that in the last episode. But here he goes to do that. He goes to finish it off, and then the phone rings, because someone is notifying him that Clark Kent is back in the Kawachi Caves. The Kawachi Caves, which have been a non-element in this season at all. It's not been an element at all. Now we're going back to this. Okay. Because of this, Clark goes to put the key in, but of course he hears a noise. It is Lionel, and then when Clark leaves, Lionel realizes that the octagonal keyhole is back. He now becomes all obsessed with this. He talks to Les about it. Les wants nothing to do with it. Of course, the FBI are listening to every word, so they're like, well, what's your dad's obsession with this Clark Kent? He's like, Clark's nothing. Clark's just my friend. Don't worry about him. My dad's obsession with him is strange, but it's nothing to do with Clark. And they even throw back the wall. You had a whole room dedicated to the mystery that is Clark Kent, but now he let it go. Sort of. He still has the room. We'll find out later, I think. But yeah. So Lionel goes to visit Dr. Swan, where they have a communication. He also offers a conversation, I should say, not communication, a conversation. He also offers Virgil Swan a deal for information on Clark, which he does take, but it's not like complete information. It's just stuff. At this point, Jonathan has taken off, but they don't spend time showing us that he's taken off. It's just that we start with the FBI, or supposedly the FBI, raiding the house. Right? And then we cut to Clark at the Talon, calling his mom, saying, "Oh, you must be out looking for Dad too. Okay, I'll be home as soon as I can." And then we found out for exposition that the dad took off again, and he's been trying to find him all day. So why are we fed that through exposition and not seeing it? I don't know. But it turns out he's at his father's grave, and I love this. How'd you know I was here? He goes, well, whenever I need answers, I usually go to my father. They talk about how, like, son's love for his father there's nothing stronger, except for a father's love for his son. I will put that out there, but, I put that out there, didn't say I did. They go home and they find out what happened, only they didn't get the key because Jonathan had the key with him. He took it with him. So you think, oh, they're going to find it, but they don't. So Clark goes to talk to Lex about what happened with his father, having the FBI, right? And he's like, I don't know why the FBI would be interested in you, or why they would work with my father. So Lex, as soon as this conversation is done, goes to his FBI contacts who are disguised as construction workers, basically, and has a conversation with them. And this is where we find out that it wasn't the FBI. And then Clark confronts him about it. And Clark's thing is, he pushes them up against the car door and is like, you lied to me, and is just gonna go walk away. He's like, Clark, it wasn't I don't know who raided your farm, but it wasn't the FBI. The FBI helped me get information on my father. He tried to pin the murders on Metron on me. And I'm trying to help them put my father away. And then he mentions Virgil Swan, and then Clark goes to see Dr. Virgil Swan in a scene where, it's another one of those conversations where it's like, oh, Earth and the stars and all that, but he's like, there's a message, and he plays it, I am waiting. It says, I'm waiting, in Kryptonian. But that message was not from the stars, it was from here, and he doesn't think it was meant for Clark. The message was for Jonathan. So once again, Jonathan has gone AWOL again. But it turns out he's gone down to the caves where we have, in my opinion, I'm watching this scene that unfolds, and to me, this whole scene that happens confirms that Lionel's been right this whole time. Okay? So, Jonathan comes down with his rifle and starts shooting a laptop. That's going to cost money. I'm pretty sure they have to pay for that. And threatens to kicks everyone out, right? Then there's a fight between the two, and he points the rifle at Lionel. Then the key starts to glow in his pocket. Why would you bring the key with you? Why? I don't know. And they fumble for it. It flies, and you think it goes into the wall. There's like a plastic divider or whatever in the way. And then Lionel assumes it goes into the wall. And Clark's like, I don't have it. But where it ends up is very confusing. I don't know how it got there. We'll get to that. Okay? We'll get to that. So, Clark, and then they end up leaving. He's like, if you don't want me, if you don't want it coming out that you illegally raided my farm, then you let us go. So he's let go. The B plot, if you can call it that. So the scene I mentioned earlier when he's at the town, he calls his mom. He has a conversation with Lana. This, of course, he does, and it ends in a kiss. And then when he goes for another one, she's like, Clark, no, you know, you're going through a lot right now, which often stuff like that happens in times like these, right? I'm doing so good, and I'm about to yawn again. In times like these, stuff happens, you know, and he takes off. Then, of course, towards the end of the episode, we have our prerequisite, our, you know, pre-told Clark Lana scene, because we have that in every episode for some reason. Towards the end of the episode, so she comes over and she basically tells him, you know, like, because Clark had a conversation, like his dad is wondering, you know, what has he done? What have I done? Like, what has he done? And stuff. She goes, no, it's about me. Like, what about us? She says, no, about me. And she says she's thinking about leaving town. Now, I will have my full opinions on Lana leaving Smallville in the season finale, so just wait for that, because I have opinions. And I don't think it's a popular one, but I have an opinion on the whole Lana situation, and we'll just wait till that episode, put a pin in it, and we'll come back to it in Covenant, which is that episode. I farted, excuse me. Sometimes you gotta let it go. Yeah. So she leaves, and then Jonathan shows up. Well, she didn't stay long. Shut up. So they have a conversation, you know, about the deeper meaning. Clark tells him about the message. And it's not spelled out in so many words, but like he made a deal with him, you know, we know that conversation. Then he's like, we need to get that key out of the wall. And Clark's like, son, Clark says, son. Jonathan is like, Clark, key's not in the wall. Like, he would know that. Then where is it? I don't know where it is. But wherever it is, I don't know. Basically, we haven't seen the last of it. And then, quite confusingly, we cut to Dr. Swan. And he's got it in a metal container box. The only thing I can think of is how he got it. I mean, the man's in a freaking wheelchair. Alright. Only thing I think of is that he had someone working undercover for Lionel Luthor, found the key, took it, and brought it to him. That's all I can think of. And I don't think we see Dr. Swan again. Because I think maybe... This is early 2004. This has to be February, March 2004 this came out. He passes away in October. They have a thing in the beginning of season 4 for him. So this must be his last appearance. I don't remember him showing up again. So it's clear maybe they had a bigger purpose for him, and that they use other actors, including Margot Kidder herself, to kind of push that. Because I think he was supposed to be in the... He and his organization was supposed to be in at least the opening part of season 4, and they used Margot Kidder instead, which I think works. But you know, the workaround and, you know, pay homage to him and all that. But I don't know. This episode was good. I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5 Superman logos out of 5. 4 Superman logos out of 5. I always say it wrong. It was good. You know, it's propped up. But I always forget this episode. I don't know. But it just shows that Lionel's obsession. You know, and you got to think about why he's really doing this now. Especially with everything you've learned. He's thinking that whatever this key, the caves, might be able to cure him of his liver disease. So at this point, he's like scratching, clawing at walls, just trying to, anything, right? Trying to get anything. So, I get that. I get it, I do. So, yeah. So what are your thoughts on this episode? No comments, like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'm Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.